Hey guys! Welcome back to Plots with a Twist,
where we discuss books,
amongst other things. And yes, we took a little quick pause.
A little break.
Weather change, you get your little sniffles going. You got
and
little
it's a pandemic, so you got to make sure.
Like as soon as you get a scratch in your throat, you're like, I have COVID.
Corona.
So we just wanted to make sure everything was good, but we are back. We're a little late with our wrap up, but that's what we're giving you today. So
nonetheless, we're here.
So let's get into it.
All right. Start us off, Kristen. What you read?
I read like 10,000 things. So I'm back. So I have now officially converted, I think full time, to an audiobook girl.
Me too, a little bit.
It's just gonna be more practical for me. I'm gonna be able to actually get into it. I still have a physical book here and there that I'm trying to still read, but just with everything that's going on, I've switched jobs. I've got the little ones are growing up. It's just a lot. So yeah, audiobooks are the thing now for me. I want to get back to physical books, but we'll get there one day. So, but with that, I was able to pop some books out. Yeah. So first book I read last month. So last month was October.
Yes.
So it was like the spooky month, trying to get some spooky reads in. And I didn't think I had that many, but as I was going through, I was like, I got a good amount of like spooky, suspense, whatever. So the first one I read was Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. Let me see. All right. So that book was everywhere. Everywhere.
Mine's still on hold. I can't get a hold of it, audio or otherwise.
Right. So it was a highly anticipated book. I'm not even sure why, because like I like I said in one of our videos, our most disappointing reads, I didn't enjoy her book that came out earlier this year, The Gods of Jade and Shadow. And I know that wasn't her first book, so I'm sure she has an audience, but still, I just was like, okay. And I've heard similar things about some of her other books that they weren't as delivered as promised. So I was kind of weary once I realized she was the author of this particular book. So Mexican Gothic, it's about this girl named Naomi. I think that's her name.
Did you audiobooked it or you read it?
I audiobooked it.
Okay.
Naomi, she is like a socialite. It's set in the 50s. She's a socialite out in the town, out about, not looking to marry nobody, not just out here doing her thing, and wanting to go back to school, really wants to get an education, but for her, it's kind of like more acceptable for her to find a man and settle down. So her cousin does just that, finds this guy that the family barely met, and settles down and moves to the countryside. So Naomi is pulled from a party one day. Her dad receives this letter that is very incoherent, but it's from her cousin, basically talking about how she's being poisoned, and they're watching her and all these voices, and it's like, what's going on here? So Naomi's dad sent her to the cousin's house to basically check in on her, and Naomi is faced with not only her cousin's whatever illness she's going through, but this weird family that her cousin has married into. So it's a lot of things going on with this house, with this family, that kind of unravels as you read along. You're questioning whether there's ghosts, whether there's something going on. So that's the kind of spooky element of it. So Naomi, she basically tries to figure that out and see what she can do to kind of help her cousin and herself really out of the situation they end up in at this particular house. So that's it in a gist. So I will say that I feel like I started to say it last wrap up because I was in the process of listening to it. I will say she redeemed herself. And I saw some still mixed reviews, but I think because I had such a bad experience with one of her earlier books, it kind of like, this one was like, oh, since I was able to follow along, actually get into it, I probably have stronger feelings about it because of that. I think if I read it and never read any of her books, I would have thought it was just okay. But yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was pretty good.
You liked it better than the last one. So
I liked it better than the last one. I think like she brings up a lot of questions for the audience or the reader that didn't make sense in her previous book that I read, but it made more sense because of the like suspense, supernatural, whatever element in this particular book. So it made more sense. But overall, I think my only gripe was that it did drag at moments where I'm like, come on, just get to it. And then also, just the whole dynamic of like her cousin checking in on like one woman and one checking in on another woman who like they have no autonomy over like their decisions, so to speak. When I'm like, yes, they do. But I don't know, like, I don't know if that was a conscious thing because of the times, because of the culture. I that part I partially was like, girl, get your cousin and go.
Right.
But I don't know. It was what it was. So yeah, that was Mexican Gothic. So it was somewhere.
How'd you rate it?
I say like a 3.5.
Okay.
Wasn't horrible,
Okay.
but it wasn't great.
Okay, so a book that I read last month for October is something that we were supposed to read a long time ago, and I bought it and Kristen read it, but it ended up coming available on audiobooks. I said, let me just listen to it because I was not going to read. I started reading it, but didn't. So anyway, that book is Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. So if you look back on one of our previous videos, I'm not sure which month Kristen read this, but it's basically about a girl named Claudia. Is that her name? Claudia. So Claudia has a best friend named Monday, and Monday goes missing. Claudia goes to somewhere for the summer, her grandparents for the summer. She comes back waiting to, anticipating the school year with her best friend who she's always spending time with, and she comes back and the girl is nowhere to be found, and it seems that she's the only one that cares that the girl is nowhere to be found. So yeah, it just goes through that story. I really enjoyed it. It was I listened to it, like I said, on audiobook. It was really good. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. I will say that it was a little triggering towards the end. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
What?
Claudia did get on my nerves a little bit, but I had to give her a benefit of the doubt because she was young. Like they were like 14, 15, 16.
Yes, and
they're really young. And I feel like when you're young, you are annoying. When you're a teenager, you're annoying. You don't know you're annoying, but you are. Like, and she was, because the book is told from her perspective and it's in her head. So she was very much annoying. But I also, towards the end of the book, I started to see like, girl, like, okay, she had like some things going on with herself, her education, and the reasoning for her not wanting Monday around, but that kind of like, she needed
dependence.
Yeah, she needed Monday to go away for a little bit so she could whatever. But I will say the book was a little triggering towards the end when you find out what is going on, the whole theme of the story. So just keep that in mind if you're gonna read it. But it was really good. I enjoyed it. Yeah, Monday's Not Coming. So finally read it, y'all.
Yeah, yeah, I do want to read her. I'm see.
I don't know why I was getting her confused with the person that wrote The Hate You Give.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
Young adult,
because it's like young adult black teenagers
yeah.
and stuff, but not to put them in the box. Same thing, because
I can see that though.
Yeah.
All right, so another one I read, spooky, was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. Huh?
I said I didn't read anything spooky, but I'm not a spooky type of girl. So.
Well, I mean,
I was supposed to read Mexican Gothic, but it didn't come. So, but continue.
Well, okay, so Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. So I read one of his books earlier this year, and like he's all in that realm of like suspense, thriller. And I said before, I didn't realize he had so many books, so I definitely plan to go back and read some more because between the two I've read, I did enjoy his writing. So Home Before Dark was about this woman. Her dad wrote a best-selling novel, kind of like Amityville horror, where it's supposed to be a nonfiction telling of their time in this particular house they purchased. And so the girl is a major subject in her dad's book because a lot of the events and things that happened in the house happened to her directly when she was 5. So fast forward 20-something years later, she doesn't remember anything that happened, barely remembers her time in that house. So she herself questions the validity of the story that her dad wrote. But she's asked him over the years, like, Dad, is it true? Is it true? Is it true? And her dad kind of substantiated what happened to them in that house. But basically, they only stayed in the house like 20 days and left in the dead middle of the night and never returned to that house. So on her dad's deathbed, basically, she finds out that he still owns this house and tells her to never return. So of course, she's curious as to what's the truth of why her family actually left, because she also inherited this house. Like I said, she's a, or did I say? I don't know if I said it this time. She's an interior designer, so she wants to fix the house up and sell it. So she goes to the house and finds that a lot of things that were happening in the story that her dad wrote is also now starting to begin to happen to her. So she's more skeptical, trying to figure out what's going on, but it's just really odd that it's the exact same things that her father experienced. So it's basically going into her trying to figure out what's going on. Is there a supernatural element in this house? Why did her family leave in the middle of the night? And what does her, like, what does she have to do with any of that? So, I will say, like I said, I enjoy his writing. I enjoy his setup. I enjoy the way he sets up stories. Like, he kind of had a book within a book within a book, because the book is ultimately the daughter's like book or retelling of everything. Like, it's weird, but it's like cool, because you're like, okay, because it does flip between chapters of the dad's book and then her experience. And it's like, oh, she's okay. So I will say overall, I like how he layered the story. I like how the story all unfolded. And then even he puts a twist on top of a twist on top of a twist towards the end for the ending, if you read it. Like, I like how he does that. So I will say I'm enjoying his writing. And yeah, he's going to be one I'm going to check out more often. So that's Riley Sager with Home Before Dark. So.
Okay, so next book that I read was Hood Feminism by Nikki Kendall. Also audiobooks. I don't have the actual physical book. Yeah, that book was good. That I had that on the list last month for what I was gonna read this month, so I'm glad I got it in. I gave it 4 stars, and it was just good. It was very informational. It's basically about
gotta remind yourself. Look at her with her lashes. Give me lamb chop.
But, okay. Anyway, so Hood Feminism is basically talks about how the mainstream feminism largely focuses on like white women and basically doesn't look to fulfill the needs of women of color and how they pertain to feminism. So gives a lot of information about that. It went in depth about a lot of situations like the Rachel Dolezal fiasco, and I believe there was another woman who had like, it was like kind of like the same thing, a white woman who
who was like a professor or something.
Yeah, who was feigning blackness too. So it went into that whole situation and talk about how like basically how they've been, even in that situation, them coming forward, they've been defended from like white feminism. So very informational book. It's something I had wanted to read for a long time. I will say, I thought, I don't know, basically because the title, like Hood Feminism, I thought it did speak a lot about the author upbringing and kind of where she comes from. But to me, it didn't speak a lot to experiences of like hood girls, if you like, it just didn't give a lot of background. I guess if you I think that if you're trying to educate people on certain things, that it would be beneficial to include those stories. And I feel like in this book it really didn't do that much. It was more like informational to me anyway. But that's the only I'll say negative review I have about the book. Other than that, I really enjoyed it. So that's Hood Feminism by Nikki Kendall.
All right, so next.
You're not even drinking your wine.
I've been drinking the whole time. Yup. Let her know. Which one do I want to talk about next? Okay, so we'll talk about Britt-Marie Was Here by Fredrik Backman. So it's Backman.
I think I knew that, but it's Backman.
Yeah. But he's a Swedish author. If you've been keeping up with our channel, you should know
love him.
We love him.
I think I've only read one of his books. I've only read one.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's still,
that was enough for me, though.
Right.
To love him.
That's still a testament to his writing. So
yeah.
So Britt-Marie Was Here was about so it is like a spinoff of one of the books I said that made me cry. My grandmother asked me to tell you she's sorry. So Britt-Marie was a character in that book, and she has some circumstances that happen. Basically, that's not a spoiler. She gets divorced. And so now in the Britt-Marie Was Here is a spinoff of her life after her divorce from her husband. So basically Britt-Marie is very kind of like rigid, so to speak. She views things kind of like kind of like gray and white. I mean gray and white, black and white. She's not really sociable, so she doesn't understand social cues or social experiences that some people might have, or just ways people talk or interact.
She doesn't know how to read a room. I listened to the beginning of the book, so I can already tell what type of person she's very
right. And she could seem as if she doesn't have a sense of humor, even though she says stuff that's humorous, but it's basically like an observation. Yeah. So that's her in a nutshell. But she basically goes and is desperate to get a job. Goes to this small town to be this recreational like facilitator, something like basically watch the rec center before it gets demolished. But she ends up meeting a lot of these characters within the town, these kids that play football or soccer, American soccer, and just really has an opportunity to kind of discover herself without her husband. She had been married for 40 years, like lived her life lived her life surrounding other people. So this was her first time really just having an opportunity to kind of get to know the person she was. And so that's it in a nutshell. So I will say with many of Backman's books, they kind of start off a certain way and you're not sure about it. But you're like, okay, I know his writing is good. Let me get into it. So I know some of his earlier books were like that. Maybe the later books you can immediately get into. But same with this one, I knew it was an older book. So I was like, okay, I'm hanging there because I know he's going to give it to me. So I didn't initially feel like I was connecting to Britt-Marie. And then I swear, he throws in a couple of sentences, a little scenario, and then you're like, oh my God. Oh my God. Like he just knows how to turn a phrase to make you like really all of a sudden understand the character. So I will say initially I wasn't sure about the book, but once it got into the nitty gritty and the nuances of Britt-Marie as a character and kind of her growth and evolution, it was really moving. It was really good. So I will say, you know, it's probably not my favorite Backman, but he's still excellent. So Britt-Marie Was Here. That was another one I listened to last month.
Okay, so last book I read this month was, so I reached my goal of 3, so whatever. Deepak Chopra's, I think that's how you pronounce his name, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. So this is a book, and it's also the subtitle is A Practical Guide to the Fulfillment of Your Dreams, based on creating affluence. So what I learned reading this book, this is actually taken from a bigger text. Like, I read it literally in an hour and a half, y'all. You see how small it is. But it's taken from a bigger text called Creating Affluence, I believe. So, yeah, the 7 spiritual laws are, I'll just listen for you guys really quick. The law of pure potentiality, the law of giving, the law of karma or cause and effect, the law of least effort, the law of intention and desire, the law of detachment, and the law of dharma or purpose in life. So it basically goes through each chapter, 7 chapters. Each chapter goes through each law and just explains what the law means and how it gives you instructions at the end of each chapter to how to apply it. See, applying the law.
Oh my God, I can't read that.
So you can apply the law to your each law to how to practically apply it to your life, like what steps you need to take to go ahead and start implementing these things so you can be successful and not you know, Deepak Chopra, he's always gonna go deep with you. So it's not about monetary success or even like you know, based on like power and gains. It's just like, you know, success in your life, what it means to be happy and what success means to you and how can you just live your best life type of tea. So it was good, great. It's very straight. I liked it because it's straight to the point. Like I said, I read it in an hour and a half. Every chapter goes straight to goes straight into what the law is and how you can apply it to your life. So I plan on reading it again and like taking notes, like putting it in a little notebook. Oh. So yeah, it's like one of those, like you can write down like what you should do, like gives you little instructions. So it's really cool. I enjoyed it. Gave it 5 stars because why not? Quick book, very much straight to the point. And I believe everything that it talks about in there. It might not be for people who aren't like, you know, into spiritual things, but it was pretty good. I recommend it to anybody.
All right, so I have 2 more books. because I was reading. I was reading or listening. Okay, so first, let's talk about Lakewood by Megan Giddings. So Lakewood was one of those books that I saw everywhere, even though Asia denies ever seeing that book before, but I saw it in a lot of places. So Lakewood, it was about this woman. She's like 21. So she's in her junior year of college. Her grandmother just passes and her mother gets sick. So she's really trying to figure out how to really make some money because now their matriarch is gone, and also really want to still take care of her mom so she can make sure that she's good to go. So she ends up getting this envelope from this project saying, you know, basically come do these experiments and we'll pay you. So she goes to check it out and ends up signing up for this experiment called the Lakewood Project. And they just subject her to different things, ask her different questions, really kind of insert themselves fully into her life. And she's at a point where she goes along with it and everything. So I think the book is ultimately about like just the lengths you go through for family, at the price of like your own sanity, your own health. So that was it in a nutshell. I will say I thought it was okay, especially considering how much I saw this book around, how other people talked about or asked about, you know, maybe our thoughts about it. I thought it was okay. I think it does have some great themes when it does talk about like things like experimenting on Black people, how that's happened over the years, and just for the sake of science or for the sake of just understanding who we are. So I don't know, that's one aspect of it, but so I get that part of it. It just wasn't, that wasn't in there enough for me to get the point. At the end of the day, it was like everything she was going through, it was like, girl, why are you doing this? Why are you allowing this to happen for some change? Like they did pay off stuff for her mom and things like that, but it just was a little too much too fast for her to not have a moment to leave. But it was just kind of like she was stuck for the ride and she was there for some time, and the progression of it didn't make sense to me. So I wasn't as like invested in what was happening to her because it seemed like everything was happening so quickly. So it didn't give me a moment to really connect with her as a character or her experience. So I would say overall it was okay, but yeah, I just needed a little bit more juice, not just what was happening, but how it was impacting her. So, and then last but not least, I read Transcendent Kingdom by Gyasi. On the audiobook they said it, but I'm still saying it wrong.
Right.
So that one was about a woman. She's a doctorate candidate in neuroscience, studying the effects of really addiction and depression in lab rats or mice. But she grew up, so she's heavily into science, but she grew up heavily religious. She's a first generation immigrant. Her parents were from Ghana, and her mom came over on a visa, and her dad came later with their son, Nana. Yeah, and it goes into her kind of reconciling her life as a person who was heavily into religion in comparison to science, a person who suffered a loss or lots of losses through her life because her brother is it's not a spoiler, her brother was an addict he's part of the opioid crisis and passed away at a young age due to a heroin overdose. And so kind of just how those things really impact her as a person, but really it gets down to the nitty-gritty of her relationship with her mom. So it gets into a lot of themes that many Black families face, immigrant or not. It gets into a lot of stereotypes that are placed on us as a Black person when certain situations may happen to a different type or a different race of person, and it's explained away differently. And I think by the suggestion of one of our subscribers, I started watching an interview between Gyasi and Britt-Marie I'm Britt-Marie. Britt Bennett.
I'm about to say Britt-Marie. Look at her.
And she kind of talked about some of that. So not to get too much into it, but it just explores a lot of things that really run rampant in the Black community and kind of explains it in a way that is kind of like you do face, you know, existential crises as you go along, like your religion, your relationship with your parents, your who, you know, what loss might happen in your family that happens to so many people, but because you're Black, it's like viewed differently. So it's just a lot of themes coming at you, and I think she just does a great job of telling a story. Some people I did see, some people didn't say it really resonated with them. I would say it probably touched me a little bit more because I understood the like perception or the experience that the person was going through, the main character. But I thought, yeah, only thing I didn't like was the end. I just thought it kind of ended, but it was like one of those stories where it really didn't have nowhere else to go because it was just about her experience. So yeah, Transcendent Kingdom. I mean, she's a great writer.
Yes.
So I enjoyed her writing. So. All right, so that's pretty much it for our wrap up. So let's get, you got a list for
yeah, but I'm not gonna lie, I didn't write down the authors.
Okay, so let's get into what we're reading for November. So have you started anything yet? I haven't even started anything.
So yet. I've started several.
Oh yes, I did. I did start something. So you go.
The only thing I started was
I'll go first, or you go first.
You go first. Go ahead.
I got like 6 books. Okay. So this one was one I was meant to finish last month. This is My America by Cam Johnson. Like I said, I just couldn't really get to my physical books. So I started it, but this is one I plan to complete this month.
So this month, I plan on reading Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey. I do though. It's his memoir that he just came out. I believe it just came out. I believe when I sent it to you, it wasn't even out yet. It came out like later in October.
Yeah, because it had pre-order.
But yeah, so I want to read that. It's about his life story. And then I read the reviews. I guess, you know, some people get it, you know, previously before everybody else get it. But it did already have reviews. And a lot of people were saying that he's actually well-spoken and well-written and is good at storytelling. It just goes through his journey as an actor, a father, husband, all that good stuff. So, and I like Matthew McConaughey, so I want to read it and see what he has to say.
I mean, his reading, you know, that voice.
Right, and I hope he narrates it because I want. Oh, he does.
Yeah,
I want to read the audiobook.
Yeah,
so,
I heard a little clip.
He'll give it some. But I don't know because when what's the name Army Hammer read that.
No, he does better. All right, so the next one. So I mentioned like during our Would You Rather having like movies or shows that motivate your reading choices. So one I plan to read or listen to this month is going to be Lovecraft Country by Ruff.
Me too.
So
I'm 2 weeks out for that one, so I hope it'll be here soon. Like
I missed it and then it came back. Yeah, but it came back.
Yeah.
So I'm not even sure what the book is about. Yeah. I'm not even sure what the show is about. The show just looks like, really freaky deaky.
It's like science fiction. It's like science fiction.
Like historical,
fantasy, historical, African American lit, like all mixed into one. Like,
and I'm like for it. I'm for it. So we'll see what that's about. I wanted to read the book first before I watched the show. So yeah, that's Lovecraft Country. Yes. Get into that this month.
Get into it, guys. Okay, so the next book that I want to read this month is called Furia by YAMILE SAIED MÉNDEZ, if I'm pronouncing it correct. And I actually started listening to it already. I'm probably about. Probably, I don't know how far I am, but started listening to it already. So far, so good, but not sure. It is about a young woman who plays football. And that's all I know so far. And like, no, she's an adolescent, and from what I've listened to so far, like I know that she gets into her mom. Her mom wants her to be like, it's very overprotective type of thing. So yes, that is a book that I saw on Witherspoon's book club list. I was like, you know, she be picking good books, so put that on the list and start listening to it.
I will join you on that. The other one that I got available, like this was on hold for like over 6 months. Like that's what it said when I put it on hold. And I randomly got it. It's Hitting a Straight Lick with a Crooked Stick by Zora Neale Hurston. So I finally got that, even though I was trying to read it around the time we read or we were going to read. I was going to read. She read it. Their Eyes was watching God.
Which you should read, because I think you would like that, especially better than like the Toni Morrison book that you had read. But I think you would like that. Their Eyes are watching God.
If it wasn't on audiobook,
You always borrow from me, so.
So yeah, when I get back into physical books, I plan to read it. But I'm actually not sure what it's about. But it was like, is it like a posthumous publication?
I want to say, I think it's a collection of stories, or no? Is it not? I'm not sure. I might be making that up too.
So yeah, I'll get into that this month. We'll see what it's about. So
see what it's given. Okay, so next book that I'm gonna read is, I had crossed it out, but I'm gonna read it because Kristen put it on her list. But we were supposed to read it, and that's Anxious People by Fredrik Backman.
Not read it. It's only been out like 2 months, a month and some change.
Well, when you told me about it, I feel like we've been knowing about it since for like a long time. So, and now that I've realized that I've only actually read one Fredrik Backman book, I feel like I need to get on it. So yes. Not sure what that's about either. Don't care. Gonna read it.
Yeah. So I think that's it. I will be joining you on that. I did have another one, but I think I'm gonna save that for November.
The only thing I think I might read, if I can get it on audiobook in time, are both is Transcendent Kingdom and Mexican Gothic. I'm on hold for both of those that have been for like at least 2 months for Transcendent Kingdom. And Mexican Gothic, I've been on hold for a while. So
all right, so that's pretty much it. This is going to be a little bit longer, you know.
But you guys enjoy that since we missed last week, so we'll give you a long one this week.
Yes. So let us know what you guys are reading for the month of November.
Yes,
let us know if you have any thoughts on anything we've read or mentioned. Yeah, we like to engage with you guys in the comment section. So let's have a little party down there. Like this video, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we come back again. Hopefully, you know, we're over our little sniffles.
Yes,
because I ain't got time. All right, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.